Oh, I guess we're on. Oh, that's funny. It just didn't even give me a warning this time. It just said, you're on. Good morning. So Zach's trying to find my phone so we can, see what's going on.
It's upstairs.
There it is. Okay.
All right.
Did you have a question today, Zach?
No, you have all the topics to bring up.
No, I didn't.
Juicy. Yeah.
I was just talking about.
No, that was juicy stuff. Choice.
I'm reading a really great book right now.
We talk about resistance and choice.
I wasn't talking about resistance. Oh. I'm reading a really great book. It's called 4,000 Weeks, and it was recommended to us by some great, great people. And so I said, I'm going to read this book. And it is so great. It is about time management, or actually lack thereof. And it's really, really wonderful. But Zach and I always get excited because with the relationship workshop that we lead, we see so much out there. Like, you could go on Amazon right now. There's like 100 million books about relationship. And so we just love when there's a book out there that actually includes pieces of what a relationship is rather than always trying to fix relationship. And this book, even though it's about time management, people think, oh, Zach's so perfect. You don't have to put up with anything. I'm like, I'm just choosing this. I'm just choosing the Slurpee.
Let's talk about choice. That's what we were going to talk about.
And that's what
today.
we're talking about. So
in my post earlier about resistance.
That must have been on purpose.
Yes.
So
and then lean back a little bit for your shaking.
I know. I'm doing this. So what this book was mentioning, which can be a little hard. It can be a hard pill to swallow. Because you have to take major responsibility. Is that really hot? Is that what's going on? It is like extra loud this morning.
Someone told me it was a compliment.
It's not. We're in the United States.
Flavor it.
It's not that way here. It is
That's
so
loud.
loud.
That's not loud.
I'm going to play this back. Y'all
That's
are going to be like,
loud.
whoa, that is loud.
Oh my gosh.
So.
I'm trying my best.
With making a choice to really like choose something to decide and kill off all of their options also takes massive radical responsibility. And so the book that I'm reading, 4,000 Weeks, is taking the idea of choice, but instead of using the word choice, it says settling.
You have to tell me. I didn't.
The inevitability of settling. Meaning, at some capacity, you are going to settle. You are like, people think, oh, I must be settling in this relationship. Is this person the right person for me? I must be settling in my health. This is just the way I am, or whatever. And like having this, like, idea of maybe there's something greater out there. And what?
Well, I was going to say, I think most of us live that way at some point in our relationship, where you can't help. It's inescapable. It's almost unavoidable. At some point, you're going to wonder kind of that what if.
Yeah. And with that, I'll just use a relationship as an example because it's a very easy example. So take online dating, for example. Hi, Terry. You may have a relationship and you have that feeling of, oh, am I just settling? They could be so much better. If I was with somebody else, maybe they'd X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. But then you have another person who is online dating for 5 years, hasn't actually chosen anyone, hasn't actually done anything. And they're also settling in the not choosing, in the being alone. Like, that is settling in that space. And it's hard to digest going like, oh, but I'm not settling. I'm just waiting for the right thing. It's like, yeah, but you are settling in whatever it is that you're doing right now.
Here's the big trick. We'll hot knife through butter. But then, like, I have a couple questions. I want to pick your brain more. I want you to share. I want to pick your brain more about that book, but also go back to that post I did earlier this morning about resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Is every time that we've ever had major upsets in our relationship, and I would assert every time you have had major upsets in your relationship, is you're living your life like you have no choice.
Oh my gosh.
You actually believe that there is no way out, there is no choice. And I think that is the big difference that between choices and option is action.
Yeah.
And choice is by definition in action. Choosing is action. Like there's an exercise that we walk people through. If I held somebody up in front of you and said, "Hey, do you want chocolate or vanilla?" And I said, "Which one do you want?" You said vanilla. Okay. Did you actually choose? No. You just said the thing you wanted. Mm-hmm. So you live in a life of options. Mm-hmm. Choice is actually grabbing the vanilla and taking it, and then you no longer have chocolate. We live a life like you almost want that back door. And you're so focused on the back door of someone else in your relationship, maybe a better relationship, maybe a different type of partner, that you actually don't see your partner fully. Like when I was more focused on you being more fun or adventurous or whatever I wanted it to be, a better drinking partner, I was
fixing. When you were focused on fixing.
Or fixing or trying to critique or get you to what I wanted. I was missing out. I was missing out on you.
Yeah.
And I think it's worthwhile to notice. But anyhow, I don't want to get too preachy right off the bat, but it's important. It's important stuff.
Yeah, because the truth is that, and I love the different flavor of language around choice of like the inevitability of settling is because whatever you're in right now, like that's what you've settled on. And what comes after that is you've either settled and you're like bummed out, or you've settled and you've chosen. And therefore, you're going to live in the consequences of that choice, and you get to choose how you do it. So, I mean, there's plenty of times where I'm like, oh man, the other option would have been really, really great. And then it's like, no, I'm choosing this. And then you interact with it differently because it's what you've chosen instead of being fallen victim to the other choice that you made, which was like starting to date that person. It's like, yeah, remember you chose that back there, but you have to keep choosing it. Something that came up this morning was like in relationship, you have to keep actively choosing. People say, oh, it's very flowery. Oh, I choose my partner every day. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but you actually really have to make a conscious effort, because what's so amazing about it is that, and what we were chatting about this morning after I was like having my reading time this morning, was you choose your partner when they were single, and then you chose them again when you got married. But what some people forgot is that after you get married, you got to keep choosing them.
That's
you got to keep choosing them again when they maybe lose their job. You got to choose them as your partner who now has lost their job. And then when they get a new job and a new career, maybe it demands a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit stressful, I don't know. Then you got to choose them again. You got to choose them again as the person you married, the person who lost their job, the person who got this brand new job. And then you got to choose them again. Maybe you choose them as a parent. Right? Maybe you have a kid together, and then you got to choose them again, because you've never known this person as somebody who got married, lost a job, got a job, and as a parent, and it can keep going, right? Maybe they lost a parent, so now you got to choose them again. You got to choose them again as a person who got married. You got to choose them again as a person who lost their job, got a job, became a parent, and then lost a parent. You got to choose them with all of that, like we're just interacting with everybody's past, but you have to be willing to like actually interact with them into that future together, and choose it and actively choose it. Because what we don't live that way. What we live is, I choose this person, and we forget that person is now a new person, a new created person, because they have a bigger past now. What we actively choose sometimes when we hear things like, I choose my partner every day, funny. Is we're actually choosing that single person we met 20 years ago or whatever. And it's like, what? Did you forget? Did you forget all that history you built together and that you're also choosing all of that? So it's interesting.
In our workshops, we actually ask a really weird question. It's a really weird question. We explore and answer where your relationship exists. And it's like, where?
Mm-hmm.
And we get all kinds of answers. And what we end up landing on and exploring and I would say uncovering is your relationship exists inside of language, and we live that language out inside of a story. And typically what happens is when we feel like we're losing ourselves or losing our partner, if you hear those phrases, as I don't feel like I know you the same way anymore, like we're just have grown apart.
Yeah.
And we actually use that as an excuse to enroll ourselves into justifying exiting the relationship. And when I say exit the relationship, I don't mean divorce all the time. I could mean exiting emotionally. You know, maybe you kind of checked out, you're kind of numb. Maybe you're listening to this in your roommates. You don't know yourself or them that same way. So as you guys continue to grow, think of it as like two intertwined stories. And as that person develops and changes and grows, you're kind of mourning a little bit the death of a relationship. Or it can actually happen the opposite, where you're feeling like your cup's not being fulfilled. Or I talked to several people in the last month alone that feel like they're just not really they don't feel like they're being known the same way. Like they want to be known a new way, or they want to be better seen by their partner. And in those situations, a lot of times there's a lot happening, and like they feel like they're it's like you're almost like you're mourning the loss of that connection, because that connection, unless you're going to keep creating new story, it's almost like, imagine reading a book and then someone inserted like a new book in between the chapters. And you're like all of a sudden, like you're completely thrown off guard, you're disconnected. The same thing happens in your relationship when your stories start to shift and you actually lose track of those stories and how they actually intertwine together. It's a fascinating topic to kind of explore. Obviously, this is like 1% of the surface, and there's something else happening in the background. But it is fascinating to consider that a lot of times the reason why you're sad, disappointed, or you feel like you're growing apart from your friends or even your work is because a lot of times that you don't know that person that way, or they don't know you that way. And so they're going to resist and try to cling back. We talked about this on Tuesday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like you're going to resist and cling back onto that person. Because like, okay, for you, it's like what you shared, earlier. It's like, if you are someone who loves tequila shots and loves drinking and loves chocolate cake, and nothing wrong with those things inherently, by the way. But as you made the determination and decision that those no longer served your health, and your body didn't react very well to them, you just chose not to. We people did not know you as someone who didn't drink for fun with everybody. And there's kind of like a loss of that's like one thing that we bonded about. And say we, I mean maybe other people too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of that happens on multiple scales. So it's worthwhile to see that that's what's happening. It's not something that it's not as, a lot of times we attach a lot more meaning to it than it actually exists.
Yeah. And we see it a lot too when we do, like, when we coach people through habit transformation. There's two camps. One camp is, oh my goodness, I've never been at this point. I don't know myself this way. I couldn't even imagine going back to where I was. This is wild. Let's keep going. I love meeting this new person. And then there's this other camp of people who get really close to something that they've never seen before. And either they get there or they're almost there and they're like, oh, but I don't know the person that's after this. I don't know the person that comes next. I don't know. And then they like, oh, like it's not even their environment or people. It's actually them going, I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit scared. I don't know this person. How am I going to keep doing this? Am I losing? And it's like, no. You got to remember that like there's something to be created on the other side when you start to grow, when you start to change, when things in your life start to transform. And arguably, it's even more, I would use the word fun, but it is a strong pull, and there's very much, and you have a habit of doing so. Consider this today, like the last time that you really stood out, that you really like pushed forward to really grow into something new. Did you pull back? Were you actually getting results? Did you go, oh my gosh, I'm getting results, but I can't see myself doing this, and then maybe you stopped trusting the process, or maybe some fear came up, or somebody deposited fear in you. That's a big one, where you're seeing results and then somebody else out of the woodwork will be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And that can be for anything, a new job, a new choice you made, a new, whatever. It's looking like, am I holding on to that, or am I actually like pushing through something? I think that like that happens all the time. It happens in relationship. It happens in
what would you say? Like I think a lot of people
career changes.
I think a lot of people when they hear that, what they think is like, yeah, I get that, but it's just I have to be realistic with myself because that's not sustainable.
Yeah. Oh, that's big. I think that's big with anything. Is the biggest holdup you'll have is like, but I can't sustain this, and it's like, whoever said you had to? Like, whoever said you had to do that? If you came into something and your goal was to, okay, something I'm working towards right now is climbing a mountain a bunch of times. I'm not gonna start by running 3 miles and then that never change. I'm gonna have to push through something and increase my mileage and change my training and my nutrition and the time that I have, all of this stuff is going to change until I get there. So if you're actually growing, if you're actually serious, serious, if you are serious about growth or transformation in your life, in your relationship, in your health, in your job, in your career, in your finances, like, you don't want to be doing the same thing all the time. Like, if you're actually growing, what you're doing is actually also going to change with you. So you're going to have to sustain something to a point of being a little bit bored with it.
How would you juxtapose that with
get a little more uncomfortable?
How would you juxtapose that with the tree example? Like I'm following you. How would you juxtapose that with like the focusing on?
Well, because it's still on one goal.
On the same goal.
Yeah.
But you would still do the same thing on that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it was trying to follow. As you grow, consistency compounds. But I think that sometimes can mistake as you grow, you're going to be confronted with things, and that might tempt you to move out of that. In fact, that brings me another train of thought here. Is sometimes is in bed. We're talking about this in bed after we were reading the Bible in bed. It was about like not mistaking good things happening to you. It's like what your story was about. And I think we should have a conversation about this.
You are all over the place.
I know. Let me mold it in.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
All your hands welcome.
Oh,
let me mold it in here.
Okay.
Sometimes great things will come your way that look like a blessing. It could be a massive job offer. It could be a free trip. It could be a big invite to an extraordinary event. I don't know. It could be a bunch of stuff, right? Under the assumption that you've put the time in to get clear on your purpose of what you want to design, meaning like what you're actually up to in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years of your life and who you want to be, there's a lot of things that you might want to do that might look like okay, for example, like retiring from the corporate world, right? There's also pain associated with that by getting clear on sacrifices now for the life we want to create later. So would it be considered like, could I mistake like, oh, like the world, the universe is being like is blessing me with all these great things here. I got this job offer and they're going to pay me $500,000 base salary plus like $1 million signing bonus. Like people are like, well, yeah, take it. But that job sucks me back into like the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can argue, is that a blessing? And I think a lot of times when you start to see success, when you start to grow, you're going to become attractive and you're going to have temptations and other fruits that are going to be tempting to pick. Yeah. That actually take you away from your grander purpose. So you got to be very, very careful about allowing things that are pleasurable and amazing and mistaking them as blessings when they're actually just distractions if they don't align with your core purpose. Because you might find yourself 3 years down the road back on that treadmill in no better place. Mm-hmm. Sure, you feasted for a bit. Sure, you had a great time and some great memories, and then you're back to where you wanted to be all along because you never actually progressed your purpose. Mm-hmm. You said it a lot better, but I think that is like sometimes you have to say no to the things you want to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because what you really want, like if you
really, 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 really want something, you're gonna have to say no to other things that you really, really like, that you really would also want. Yeah. And it's possible to get really focused, and the more that you do that, the more you actually feel like you have more time.
I actually want to.
So, wait, what?
I want to back that up. Actually, not what you really, really want. The definition of want is missing. If you actually look at the root core meaning of wanting, it means something's lacking, something's missing. I want it. There's a hole there. I want to fill a need. I want to fill something that is inherently missing. That is much different than liking. What you want, like what your soul wants, is not what you. Getting what you want is not always what you like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I want good physical health so I don't have heart attacks like my grandpa and my other family members. I want to have self-control so I don't dive into alcoholism and kill myself like my uncle did. I want a lot of things, but I like a lot of greasy, fatty foods that increase my cholesterol. I like excessive amounts of alcohol. I like a lot of these things. And I think a lot of times we mistake things that we like coming into our lives, but that very well could be the enemy just actually taking you away from what you really want. Mm-hmm. So don't mistake want versus like.
And in that coming up, know that is going to come up. If you have decided, like we, started this conversation with, if you have decided and you have made the choice, don't be surprised when all of these things come up. They will come up. And it's not to say that you're not going to have them again. It's not to say that you won't actually be able to enjoy them again. You may actually be released from them. For me, I know my journey with alcohol was like that. I thought, oh yeah, I'll be able to enjoy it again. And I'm like, actually, no, I don't actually want it at all. And arguably now Zach, because he said no for a while, now he gets to enjoy it more.
I do enjoy it more.
Do you know, like, we live in the Pacific Northwest. Like, we have some of the best beer in the world. He enjoys it way more now. And so it's like, okay, when you really look at what you want, know going in that you're going to get resistance, and know going in that you are going to have to exercise that muscle of saying no to things that you may like. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's an experience that you don't know if you're going to get again, and you may want it, you don't have it. And then it's like, well, do I need it? Trust me, you won't notice it if you missed it. We just had a client go to Disney World, and the choices that she made, I said, well, this was your first trip. So now, knowing that you feel great or doing great and all of these things, when you've reached your goals, like, what did you learn for the next trip? And first thing was, oh, my mindset was totally different. Like, her choices were totally different. All of these things that people were like, you got to try this, you got to do that, you got to try this, she got to some of those things and we're like, oh, no. because her mindset had changed. Her goals had changed. Her focus had changed. Those things are still going to come up, but that muscle is like, oh, you got to practice it. And I say practice it in community with people. Practice it with code. Practice it with other people around you, because it will make it a whole lot easier when it comes. Because it's going to come. Everybody thinks, oh, I'll just do, this easy book or whatever, Whole30 or, and then it's like, okay, but then what? What happens? The book ends, and then what? Resistance comes.
It's amazing what kind of makes me sad, actually. And I think about myself and how many years are wasted denying filling my cup, denying allowing myself to be fully expressed, denying my autonomy and freedom because I didn't like what it took to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And
almost like the conversation we were having last night.
Very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
That is not to say you can't enjoy things you like. But when you're on your way, wanting is something that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Achieving something that you want, that you desire. Don't allow the enemy to tempt you with things you like if they don't align with your mission to fill that wanting.
Yeah. I think for people who are like, but I don't know my purpose, or I don't know, like, I don't have some big grandiose thing. Know that we're not necessarily talking about some grand. I was just doing that because I knew we were missing stuff. So I feel bad. Tara, I'm so sorry. We had it on the wrong screen. Oh my gosh, we love you so much.
Thank you.
So when you are looking and you're like, but I don't know if this is serving my higher purpose. I don't know what that is. We're not necessarily talking about this like big grandiose thing. We're just talking about like, how do you actually want to be expressed? Like, are you right now, if someone was to meet you, the person that you would want them to meet? And it doesn't mean like you have to have something that you like want to fix or want to change or whatever. It means like, are you happy to share about whatever it is you have to say about your life? And there have been multiple times in our lives where I did not want anyone to ask me how I was doing. I did not want to, oh, how are you and Zach doing? It was like, God, please do not have them ask me that question.
No, you just do what everyone does.
I will have to lie. Like, I will have to lie.
We're good.
How is your, how are you doing after your back surgery? I don't know. I'm just making sure. How are you doing after you have a newborn? How's it going? Like, yeah. And so when you think about it like that, like, that's what we mean. It's like, are you actually being expressed as you want to be expressed? And it can be something small too. If it's like a goal, like maybe you are working towards a goal. Maybe you're trying to get rid of debt. Maybe you're chipping away at saving up for a big vacation that you want. It's like, okay, so if that is it, if that's the thing, if that's what you've decided, what are the things that for right now you have to say no to that you do like, you do want to do, but just for now because you have this bigger goal, like what is that? And then making choices from there. And it's hard, you guys, it's hard. That's why like it's good to do it in community because those things are really hard to do and they look weird. They look weird. We've been going on this trip like for years. And this year we had to say like, sorry, we're not doing that. That's weird. It's weird. It's going to be weird.
I don't like it.
Yeah, we don't like it. But like, it's just like where we're at right now. And even things with the kids, we're like, no, but we're in this together trying to do things that we've never done before. So.
Well. Now what?
I don't know. Did you have a question?
No, but I do feel bad because I think I did get a bunch of messages that I did not incorporate on here and I didn't read them. So maybe tomorrow I'll read, not on the here, but my DMs. So I will read those tomorrow in our live and I'll get back to you.
Questions?
Yeah. There's a couple like, Yeah, but I'll answer them anonymously. We have a lot of people like right now that, I mean, there's a lot going on in the world. And if you're listening to this and you feel like you want to like take a step deeper and kind of explore this topic a bit more, like we're scratching the surface. And I think the work we do in health and relationship is, again, when we do our job right, and if we do our job right with you, um, assuming we do, and we will, you will leave with less. And it's a weird thing to proclaim, meaning a lot of the concepts and things you think or hold to be so in your life, a lot of the stories you tell yourself, we give you a perspective where you have no other choice but to actually, you have no other, I guess, how would I put this when I say this right, you have no other choice or option to make an active choice of how, well, yeah, you have no other way but to choose it more freely, because I think a lot of us live.
So they have the option.
Yeah, we have the option to choose it more freely. Yes, we will give you the option to choose.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. There's people who sit in the room who
and
hear the option.
What we can promise you, what you get working with us, if you want to take that next step in your relationship or in your health, is you will have the opportunity to make a radical difference in your life, because we're going to give you the option for you to take action and choose. And we're going to give you something you've never seen before. And that we can promise you. We can promise you that you're going to have a view, a point of view, a perspective, an angle on which you see life that you've never been exposed to. Not a single, there's a reason why our workshops are packed full of counselors, therapists, doctors, engineers, is because they take this body of work that we've inherited that's been, decades and decades done. We poked and prodded it, and you'll see something in a way that gives you access to a lot of freedom to choose your relationship in a profound way. It's really remarkable.
Yeah. And you really just have to choose it. Where we see the longest lasting, the greatest, biggest transformations is when we say, we can promise you the actions. We can promise you predictable transformation. And we can actually promise you that, because our responsibility is giving you those actions. And then your responsibility is to take them, and we support you through those actions. It's not until people stop or try to modify the actions or don't take them, or they're doing them for someone else. You can't do actions for someone else, right? Like you can't do a relationship transformation workshop and then like do it for your partner. You can't do that. You have to do it over here. And so that's like what we see. Like we can give you all of the predictable actions and transformations. Go here it is.
Yep.
And then it's your choice to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Oh yeah, this next. Oh yeah, and then just keep like going. Yeah. So if you takes the pressure off us. Like we already did it. We're still doing it. We're always in it. We're always in that active growth mode, right? To like doing something else makes it a fun weekend. I feel like maybe you made it sound like it's super intense. It's also really fun.
It is fun. But seeing something you've never seen before, it's intense, and it's like, whoa, it's like seeing the Niagara Falls for the first time. You could look at videos, you could look at pictures, you could have someone explain it to you, you can go to an IMAX, but you haven't seen Niagara Falls unless you go experience. And sometimes
you're in such like, whoa, the first time, that you have to go again, so that way you can really capture it. And so there's a lot of people who come again because like we did, and because it's like, oh, okay, I got it the first time, but now I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're in it now, right? You can like really, really enjoy even like more layers of it. And the fun part of it all, I think, is you get to leave with less, I guess.
So if you're ready to take that next step, shoot us a message. Our workshop's on May 6th and 7th, and then the part 2 is July 22nd and 23rd. It's 2 full weekends. We'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
And if you're curious to take that next step in your health as well, and you want just one-on-one coaching, shoot us a DM. We do that as well, and we're here for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. See you tomorrow.
Bye.